With the trade deadline over, we're looking at DFAs, and today is the last day that anybody can get picked up before they can't play in the playoffs. So, who's getting picked up? We're going to talk about it. Welcome back to Touching Bases Podcast. Good to see your beautiful smiling faces. I am sick as a dog. It's way worse on my other half here at the house, so I'm just gonna be grateful, and at least I can put out a video. So we'll make this quick, but basically we're tagging up this whole episode. The Royals are putting in work. They're trying to find a way to climb up to that AL Central and take first place. The Royals are fighting for every inch of the AL Central, and they signed Tommy Pham, I believe, today, and also Robbie Grossman. Now, luckily, because the signing deal has finalized, they will be able to play for the Royals in the postseason if they do make it. But right now, the Royals have a one-game lead in the wild card, but they're only one game behind the Guardians in first place. So maybe this is the additional bats they can use in their lineup to push them past. I mean, we're coming to the final month of the season, and their schedule isn't exactly easy, but it's not exactly super challenging. So where are they going to be putting them? I'm not entirely sure. I'm assuming DH because Pasquantino went down. So maybe Perez takes over at first base and Tommy Pham takes over at DH. That's kind of my guess at this point. For me, it is probably going to be playing at catcher for the rest of the season, probably swapping out with Perez, but I can see Tommy Pham being their permanent DH moving forward. And then also Robbie Grossman can also play in the outfield as well. So they have two options and they can swap them both back and forth. Now, I finally bought into the StatHead because I wanted to look at these numbers, and it's really hard to find this information unless you go through StatHead. So with that reference, thank you, StatHead. I did subscribe to you guys, so there's my money. Take it. Not sponsored. I'm paying. Tommy Pham has one home run recorded at Kauffman Stadium in his entire career. This is dating back from 2016 to 2024. His OPS is a 592, which is not very good considering the average right now for this season is about 700, a little bit, maybe a little bit more. And he has 72 plate appearances. He's played 17 games with one home run, one triple, 3 doubles, and 9 singles. He's only batting a 209 at Kauffman Stadium. Now, why is this important? Well, because majority of their games the rest of this month are going to be in Kansas City. It's probably a good idea to look into what his abilities are at that stadium, since this ball club has seemed to grow their entire lineup around who can hit in Kauffman Stadium specifically. That's why they're so good at home. I put out a video not too long ago about maybe the possibility of the Royals cheating because their record at home is so good compared to their record on the road, which I still think there might be something weird going on there. And people get mad at me because it's a where no proof or evidence, you're accusing them. It's like, no, it's weird. It's something that you guys should be looking into. There's not very many teams out there regularly have a significantly better home record, especially better than the best teams in baseball, and then go out on the road and they can't play for shit. So I mean, it is fishy. I don't have evidence. I'm not really looking too deep into this. I think the Royals are a good team, but it's just so weird that they are so terrible on the road. And given that they added the bat like Tommy Pham to this team, he only has a 209 batting average and his slugging is 328. Now, his OPS is a 592, so I mean, it's not god awful, but it's also not really up to standard. Is this a good addition? I think it will be, and considering that he was already in St. Louis for this last month with the Cardinals, he doesn't have to go very far in order to start playing in Kansas City, so he doesn't shift his whole life around just to play for this team. So personal life, and then also being on a team that's a playoff contention, it's nice to see. On top of that, he's also going to join Amed Rosario and being a player with 3 teams underneath his belt in one season. Amed Rosario started with the Rays and his contract was going to end. He got traded over to the Dodgers where he was DFA'd, and now he's picked up and playing for, who is he playing for? The Reds. Sorry, I totally had a brain fart there on who he got moved to. Given that Tommy Pham signed super late in this season with Chicago, he was DFA'd because it was a 1-year deal, and the Cardinals picked him up. He's been really hot with the Cardinals since he started playing there, and I think it's mostly based on morale, and that was with a team that was not really in the playoff contention. Now you're looking at him playing for a team that is in the playoff race. he can only play even better. I just hope he can do that at home at Kauffman Stadium. Keeping everything in the AL, let's talk about probably the best hitter in baseball right now, Aaron Judge. And how good is he? Nice little tweet that came from Justin Hamans, Jay Hay, the Nugget Chef, as he calls himself. Very interesting, and it's pretty impressive that he's able to dig this up. The last time a right-handed batter had an OPS plus better than what Aaron Judge is doing in 2024 was Ross Barnes in 1887. That's 8 years before Babe Ruth was even born. Pretty wild, if you ask me. Just a nice little fact out there if you didn't see his tweet and you guys missed that fact. Since you guys are watching this video, it's probably good to know Aaron Judge is being incredible this season, and I feel like too many eyes are on Shohei and they're not paying attention to what Aaron Judge is doing. The Pirates are kicking O'Neal Cruz out to the outfield and moving IKF into shortstop permanently for the rest of the season, from what it seems. Now, it's a little bit interesting because this is coming directly from Derek Shelton. He announced that O'Neal Cruz will be moved to center field permanently. I'm going to guess that Andrew McCutchen is going to be the DH. I thought I read somewhere he got DFA'd, but I don't know if that's accurate, so don't hold me to it. Shelton said, I think right now we're looking at him as a center fielder, per Noah Hiles of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Isaiah Connor-Falefel will be the club's primary shortstop for the rest of the year. So, Cruz being 25 years old, he's obviously shown to be extremely valuable and he has a great bat. He just hasn't been able to put it together this season. So maybe moving him from the infield to the outfield will help him focus more on batting, because it is so much harder to play the infield than it is the outfield. They're basically taking the theory of Mookie Betts, where he was an infielder at second and shortstop, and moved him to the outfield where he became a superstar. And that was while he was with the Red Sox, and now he's kind of going back and forth, going from the outfield to shortstop to second. You can also look at Jazz Chisholm when he was with the Marlins. He was a second baseman as he entered, and he went to the outfield and he became the franchise name, got his face on the MLB The Show cover. So maybe this will work with O'Neal Cruz, and maybe that'll help his batting because he has a potential. He's just been in a slump all season in 2024. Speaking of the outfield, Jason Hayward was DFA'd by the Dodgers, and officially today he's taking a physical as he signs his deal with the Astros. I wasn't really expecting this for the Astros because I was thinking that by now Kyle Tucker would have been brought back. I don't know where he's been. His injury was not supposed to be super significant, but he's missed majority of the season, and yet somehow the Astros are coming out of nowhere and taking over the AL West as always. It's almost frustrating because it's like no matter what, their players are just incredible all the time. Great coaching staff, I guess. I don't know. Jake Myers has been awesome in center field, and of course Yordan Alvarez has been hitting bombs as usual. So maybe it's a backup outfield position waiting for Kyle Tucker to come back. I'm not exactly sure on the move here and what the intentions are. I guess I could have done a little bit more backstory on this, but I don't know if he's going to retire after this season. But him now playing for basically the AL contenders for a World Series versus being with the Dodgers, who had way too many outfielders as is. Maybe this is his opportunity to fill a spot until Kyle Tucker can come back, giving them opportunities to score runs. Now, it's not like the Astros really need it at this point, but it seems like it's a good pickup for the Astros, considering that they don't know when Kyle Tucker is going to be back, and as long as he passes physical, which I'm assuming he will, it's just adding depth to the outfield, and you can never have too much depth in the outfield. Now, he may be having a bad year this year, but his overall stats and career is pretty damn impressive. Now, if we were to look at him specifically at Minute Maid Park, he does have a 775 OPS, which is a little bit above average, league average, and that's for his entire career from 2010 to 2024. He has 3 home runs there. He's only played 15 games in that stadium, so it's a small sample size, but his batting average is still better than Tommy Pham's at Kauffman Stadium. He has a 229 batting average with an OBP of 296. Still not very great, but he does have 7 RBIs, 3 home runs, and 6 base hits. He does have 4 walks and 8 strikeouts, so I don't know if this is going to be a great move, considering the fact that this year he's only batting a 207 and he has 30 RBIs and 4 stolen bases. I understand he was injured for pretty much the first half of this entire season, and so he's had very little time to actually prove himself, and given all the outfielders that the Dodgers had, it really kind of took away from his ability to show how good he is on the field, because his opportunities were cut in half. And on top of that, it's hard to get hot when you're coming off an injury and it's just not feeling right and you get in your own head. So I'm putting a benefit of the doubt that Jason Hayward's probably going to be a good asset for the Astros, which as a Mariners fan, it's not good for Astros fans. I think this is going to be a good pickup. I don't think the numbers are reflecting what he can do, considering he has a 41.4 WAR over his entire career, and his batting average for his career is 256, which is relatively good with 180 home runs and a 711 RBIs. So we'll see where he plays them. I don't know about Kyle Tucker, but as long as he's injured, I see Jason Hayward getting a daily start in this lineup. The Angels, kind of a sad team. Yes, they did lose to the Mariners yesterday, and I believe they're probably playing right now as I record this. I'm going to try to get this out to you guys as soon as possible. But they are now pulling guys from AA just to give them an opportunity to the MLB because they understand where they're at. There's no way making the playoffs, so might as well see what opportunities they can give next season in 2025. The Angels have now promoted Caden Dana. Now, Dana is a 6'4" right-handed pitcher, and he's going to be starting tomorrow on Sunday against the Mariners, so it'd be something to look forward to and see how he performs. I mean, the Mariners have kind of sparked a little bit of an offense lately, but I don't know how long it's going to last, and given that Dana's been so good down in AA, he has a 2.52 ERA with a 7-9 record out of 23 games started. Now, I like to think that there's going to be a significant jump in ability when it comes to batters that he's facing, but at this point it really doesn't matter for the Angels, so they might as well give him the opportunity. If you're only pitching a 2.52 ERA down in AA, it doesn't hurt to bring him up, considering that most of the starting rotation for the Angels is well above 3. With that in mind, I'm looking forward to seeing him pitch. If he does well against the Mariners, I won't hate. Welcome to the Bigs. That's good to have a good start, and the Angels really need somebody like that. They need a good arm in their starting rotation. But, I mean, speaking of the Mariners, a lot of drama. Like a ton of drama. Randy Arozarena apparently went into the clubhouse in Tampa when the Mariners were playing them less than a month after getting traded, where he was the franchise face, and people aren't happy.
Randy Arozarena walking into the Tampa Bay Rays clubhouse.
Fuck that.
As a member of the Seattle Mariners.
Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out.
Dallas,
Get the fuck out. What are you doing here, bro? This is done. This is not where you live. You live over there. Love you. We'll have dinner. Not here. Get the fuck out. Do you understand what we're trying to do here? We are trying to create something that 26 of us buy into. No. Absolutely not.
So you're out on that?
Down on it.
Okay.
Honestly, you're telling me he hasn't been gone a month and you're telling him to get the fuck out? Are you serious? Like, this guy was the franchise face for this team since he was a rookie. Like, he literally came into the playoffs and was the MVP of this team while the next season winning Rookie of the Year, and you're telling me that within 22 days or whatever it was, he can't come back to the clubhouse where he was the captain of this team and show face and say hi to the guys while he's on this new team. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I understand that I'm not a major league player. I don't know how this works. I've never been in a clubhouse. I'm a nobody. So I mean, take this with a grain of salt versus these guys that are saying very egregious things, in my opinion, about Randy going into the clubhouse of the Rays. It's not like he was a minor league player that is going to go see a couple of his buddies. It's not like Brian Wu going into the Mariners clubhouse after he gets traded and saying hi to a couple guys. It's more like Julio Rodriguez getting traded after 10 years of playing for his team, for the Mariners, and going to the clubhouse when it's a visiting team for like the Yankees or whoever the hell picks him up. As a fan, and I think as a player, based on the guys that support him, it's not a insult to come to the clubhouse before a game and just be with the guys that you've always played with. And this is just my opinion. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that are saying different things about this and have the different opinions, but to just be like, no, get the fuck out, like, we're competitive, you're not allowed to be here, it depends on the person. Now, if it was Jonathan Papelbon or if it was Dallas Braden with the A's or with the Red Sox, I completely understand why you need to get the fuck out, because you weren't a face of the team. If it was Dennis Eckersley that was coming into the clubhouse after getting traded, if it was David Ortiz coming into the clubhouse after getting traded, they're not going to kick their ass out and say, no, you don't belong here no more. I mean, maybe the Red Sox, let's be honest, Massachusetts, I mean, you Boston folks are aggressive. From my standpoint of it, you're a legend and you were the face of the team. You're going to be welcomed in with open arms because it's so soon. It's not like it's been 3 or 4 years where he's just popping in and it's just like, hey, what's up, guys? Like, I still own it. It's been like 23 days. Chill out. I mean, call it a rough perspective on this, but I think it's a little aggressive to be saying all this crazy stuff. And now obviously Jared Carrabis was laughing at this because Dallas Braden was so worked up on it, but it's just, to me, it seems obnoxious to get this worked up over him coming back home to where his family is. Literally, this guy's living in a hotel still in Seattle. He hasn't settled down. His family's still in Tampa or St. Petersburg. I don't know exactly where he's been staying or been living, but he's not even settled down here yet. If you're living in hotels, you are not home. And I can imagine, based on his performance, he's homesick. Like, the Rays team is his home, not just the city, but that team, that clubhouse is his home. It hasn't settled in yet. So to claim all these things and to get this pissed off because he wants to be around the guys that he considers his family is absurd to me. It's like Derek Jeter coming back after getting traded to some other team and the captain being told to get the fuck out of his clubhouse in New York. It would never happen. Maybe A-Rod because he wasn't an OG guy, but would you tell Derek Jeter to get the fuck out of the clubhouse if he got traded to the Blue Jays his final year of the season? All theoretical? Probably not. That's just my rant. I think it's a bit obnoxious. I am a Mariners fan. I love to have him here. He's not playing like he was in July with the Rays, but I still think as a human being, I understand where he's coming from. And I think it's absolutely okay for him to have a little bit of a reconnection to kind of get a better mindset, to feel a little bit less stress, because I've been shipped away when I was younger and it is a real thing to be homesick. I can imagine that with his family and the wit and how he's had to travel all the way across the entire country to play for a new team, new climate, new area, new culture. It's hard. So I disagree with Papelbon. I disagree with Braden 100%. Leave it down in the comments what you guys think, because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you think I'm wrong, but at least we can talk about it. Sticking in Seattle though, I mean, look at the positive. Today, Bryan Woo will be pitching against the LA Angels. It'll be the day before Caden Dana comes onto the mound and performs however he's going to perform. But we should look at some nice little traits about Bryan Woo. Now, granted, he was injured for the beginning of the season, but he has pitched more than 80 innings pitched, which puts him into a class that's pretty interesting for this season. Out of everybody in the 2024 season that's an active starting pitcher with over 80 innings pitched, there's only one player with a better ERA than Bryan Woo, and that is Ronaldo Lopez, who just pitched a phenomenal game for the Braves yesterday. Bryan Woo right now has a 2.05 ERA in 87 2/3 innings pitched. That puts him ahead in statistics of Paul Skeens, Chris Sale, Tarek Skubal, Zach Wheeler, and Hunter Green. Those are literally the top 7 in the lineup for best pitchers of the year this year. Now, I understand that Bryan Woo only has 87 2/3 innings, while the others have, for example, 121 innings, 109 innings, 153, 160, 160, 143. I'll just throw that completely out there. I completely understand there's 20 to 50 to 70 more innings thrown by these other pitchers, but he still qualifies with more than 80 innings pitched. This is where he ranks number 2 in all of baseball. Something to keep in mind, if he can keep this up for the rest of the season, he is looking at being the best pitcher in baseball, and nobody expected that. Everybody's been looking at Logan Gilbert and Luis Castillo and George Kirby, yet Bryan Woo is basically number 1 on the Mariners. Just for reference, I mean, if we were to look at all of history since 1920, he would actually rank, if he finished the season right now with where he's at, tied with Roger Clemens of 1997, David Righetti of 1981, Stan Boston of 1968, and also in 1968, Bob Veal with a 2.05 ERA. Now, these guys are ranked in all of history since 1920, basically the live baseball era, 105, 106, and 107, 108 of all of baseball history. So he'll fit somewhere in there as the top pitchers for a single season performance. And if you guys have any other thoughts or have any other teams we should be talking about, leave it down in the comments. Like the video if you haven't, subscribed if you made it this far, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Later.